hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and it is a fine Monday evening here. I hope you're having a good evening, I guess. I hope your Monday was good. I hope it wasn't as dreadful as you might have thought it would have been, but things are going good here. A little worn out today, but that's all right. We got a good show lined up for you tonight. A lot of stories on the deck to get into here very shortly, but as always, please feel free to call in 720-923-0500 if you want to be a part of the show. And I just want to say, first and foremost, a very special happy birthday to Orange County girl who's going to make me say it, but she goes by Cha-Cha in the chat room. So happy birthday, Cha-Cha. That just hurts every time. Hope you having a great day, though. Hope it's been a wonderful day. And definitely happy birthday. And thank you for always being here and being so supportive of what we're doing on the show. You've been a big part of it for a long time now. And we're just thrilled that you're finding a home here with us. So I hope you're all ready, because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are underway here on the Paranormal Portal. That should be about it. If you have a paranormal incident or occurrence or idea or thought that you would like to share as well, please feel free to email, or you just got something you want to share, about the show that you like or don't like or whatever. Please feel free to email at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. We love to hear from you. I'm getting lots of new emails all the time from people that have found us from the podcast, and lots of wonderful praise for that. And it's incredibly exciting and humbling. But thank you guys so much, those of you who have found us from the podcast and are following the podcast as well, and checking out the YouTube channel. Lots of things always going on here. Again, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 7 days a week. I am live here doing the shows. These bedtime story shows are just a shorter format. But Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday are 2-hour shows. And Wednesday and Saturday, Don joins me, and we'll get into those when he's here. But thank you guys so much. It's just really exciting to see this build and grow, and all of you guys spreading the word to other people that you know who love the paranormal. And that's it. That's the best endorsement I could hope for, because I know that I believe the people I know, when they say, "Hey, dude, you got to check this out," it's like, okay, well, this is somebody I know, somebody I appreciate or respect, or have an opinion of. So when they tell me to check something out, I always do, because my friends generally tend to know me, and they'll know if I like something or not. But those are the greatest endorsements. I could listen to somebody say 500 million times to go check out a show on a TV commercial, and it wouldn't bother me a bit. It would just be like, oh, well, there's another one of those. But when somebody you know gives you an endorsement, it's a really big deal. So thank you to all of you who have done just that on our behalf. And we are absolutely humbled, and we hope that we are always deserving of such praise. I know I'm always striving to make the show better than it is. Always looking for ways to improve it. So there's a lot of things in the hopper right now that we're trying to bring to fruition. So hopefully some really exciting things around the corner for you guys as well. So enough about the show and enough about me propagandizing you here on the show. So let's get to some ghost stories, huh? What do you think about that, huh? I got some ready for you. So, because I love a good story. All right, let's see what's going on here. The first one tonight is coming from Tennessee. So, what's going on in Tennessee, you ask? Well, let me tell you. It starts out as such. The old home place started out as a simple 4-room farmhouse with an attic type upstairs. It had porches in both the front and in the back, with part of the back porch having been turned into a smokehouse. The floor plan was simple. Coming in through the front door was a living room, and to your right was a master bedroom, and the attic sat on top of these two rooms, and with the L-shaped staircase coming out into the living room. The living and dining room abutted these two rooms with a door from the living room leading to the kitchen. And as you entered the kitchen, to your left was the dining room door, and in the far end of the kitchen was a door going to the back porch. I started living here when I was 6 years old, following my real parents' divorce. So the year would be about 1961, and all the kids slept upstairs except the oldest, which slept in a makeshift bedroom in the dining room. The dining room was probably the most haunted room of the house. First, I'll tell you what I can attest to. The room had an eeriness about it that would strike terror in us kids, and it was like there was something in there that absolutely hated you. Although nothing ever bothered us, we would run past the doorway, and this could have all been in our heads, but the coldness of the room wasn't. We actually used the room for a refrigerator, and we had a milk cow, so we had plenty of milk and butter that we kept in this room to keep from spoiling. I guess that's one good use for it. Even in the hottest parts of summer, you could hear crashing noises coming from the room. When you checked, nothing would be out of place. Other times you would hear crashes, and when you checked, the honey cans would be scattered all over the floor, and the door had a habit of locking from the inside, and the lock we had was an old-fashioned turn latch, and like you found on the old outhouse doors, and you could wait a while and go back, and the door would be unlocked. These I witnessed with my own eyes. The following events I can't attest to. I wasn't there, but I can attest to the honesty of the ones that were. I believe it to be true. The incident happened in the mid to late 50s, and it was a Christmas Eve, and the family had all been gathered in to spend the holidays together, and they were all in the kitchen laughing and talking when one of them went to get something from the dining room, and the door was locked. Everyone was accounted for, so Pete, one of the son-in-laws, put his shoulder to the door and forced it open, knocking the latch off onto the floor. They got what they wanted, and Pete nailed the latch back in place so tight that he couldn't turn it. He laughed and said something to the effect of that he would like to see it, he called it a name, lock it now. No sooner than he pulled the door to, but it latched again. He forced it open again, and this time he nailed the latch with two 16-penny nails side by side, making it impossible for the latch to turn. And then he closed the door. It latched. Just when he was about to force the door open a third time, it sounded like all hell broke loose in the dining room. It sounded like something was tearing the room apart. And Pete started to go into the room, but Mom and Dad stopped him, telling him to wait until it settled down. When things got quiet, about 10 minutes later, he started to force the door open again, but decided to check it first. He pushed on the door, and it opened as easy as pie. We walked in, and nothing was out of the place except for the latch to the door was laying clear across the room. The two nails that held it in place was twisted together like you could twist the electrical wiring. Nothing else happened that night, and the room was quiet for a long time after that. And he says there's more to follow, but Apparently, he never followed through with that. So I don't know. That is a great story, though. That's really powerful. That much energy is pretty unnerving. I don't know what that would be. It's that's a hell of a lot of activity. I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of elemental that came with the property. Who knows? But that is a lot of power. That's a lot of energy. There's belief in the paranormal communities that it takes ghosts or spirits a lot in order to manifest, and manifest by means of making sounds, by means of becoming an apparition of some type, even an orb, or manifesting by means of moving something or controlling an item that we can see. And most often, the manifestations are usually pretty quick and one-offs, and then it'll be a long time before there's any other manifestation. And many researchers believe that's due to the fact that the spirits require an awful lot of energy in order to make those things happen. And I think there might be something to that. And of course, the cold spots, the cold air, is attributed to the fact that there are researchers that believe that the spirits actually draw the ambient heat energy from the air in order to do what it is they want to do. And as cold as they say that room was, it sounds like it was drawing a hell of a lot of heat. But still, to twist a doorknob several times in succession, and to pull it off and then to twist the nails around each other like a bread tie, to me is a pretty profound act. I don't know. Whatever they're dealing with, it doesn't sound like it was really mean. It doesn't sound like it was trying to hurt anybody, because clearly it had the energy to cause a lot of damage and pain if it would have chosen to. So it seems to me that it was more just leave me alone, don't bother me kind of thing. Now, was it a human energy? I don't know. If it was, it would be a whole different level of normal spirit energy than what commonly is encountered. So I don't know. I guess I'll probably put my hypothesis on it being some form of elemental or nature spirit. So the next one is, now this is a location that many of you, if you've watched Ghost Adventures or many of the other ghost shows, this is a location that's been visited many, many times by many, many of these shows. And it's a creepy place. I've not been there personally. In fact, most of the locations I've never been to. But just in watching the episodes of this shows visiting this location, you can even feel it through the TV. It's like, ooh, there's something sideways there. But it's the Sloss furnace. It's Sloss. And it's located in Alabama. And it's a defunct steel smelting and furnace place. And there was a bunch of deaths attributed to poor working conditions. Somebody allegedly got pushed into a vat of molten metal, and onward and onward. And there's apparently a foreman guy. I can't remember his name, but he's considered to be haunting that area. And a lot of the activity is attributed to this foreman who had passed away on the location. So, and I don't believe it was a good passing either. I think he kind of got it a pretty harsh deal. But he was considered to be a real rough bastard, and not a lot of people liked him. So I think he might have been the one that was pushed, as I recall, and done in. But there's people that got their arms ripped off from getting too close to open gears and stuff that were spinning, and just horrible place. There weren't no OSHA back then, let me just tell you that. So let's go to Alabama and see what's going on there. A lot of you guys are coming in. Good to see y'all. We're climbing. The numbers are climbing. So excellent. So this is the Sloss furnace, nestled deep in the city, in a city full of new businesses and fancy car dealerships, lies a piece of history with a haunting background. Sloss furnace was operated as a pig iron producing blast furnace from 1882 to 1971. Over the course of its actual industrial existence, there were many tragic deaths that occurred there. Whether it be someone crushed in a grinder or melted in a furnace, Sloss has it all. This was back when laborers would work in the harshest of conditions, especially those who work near the furnaces in the dead of winter. Many explained it as being burned on one side of their bodies and frozen on the other. If you wish to verify these facts, you can certainly visit some websites. Well, nowadays it's still used as an iron mill, but the main building of the place aren't used, and these are also the same buildings which are said to be the most haunted, which me and my friends quickly found out for ourselves. We first traveled to Sloss Furnace in May of 2006, and we had never been to this place before, nor did we know if we were allowed to be there. We walked on inside and found some workers working on the other side of the property and asked them if we could hold an investigation. And the boss there told us, yeah, as well as explained some of the history of the place. And he also shared some of his own personal sightings in the place. So he let us go out there and investigate the place, and we heard many sounds and saw many things while we were there, including a pipe swinging of its own free will. The sounds of footsteps on a catwalk when nobody was there, as well as a full-body apparition step back into the shadows. I could explain some of the more serious stuff that we've seen there, but it would be better if you saw it for yourself. So check out the hauntings and let me know what you think. Thanks for reading. Be safe and happy hauntings. Well, that was nice. It was like a Sloss Furnace endorsement. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're a little more strict about letting people in there now than they were at the time that was that occurred. You don't just show up anywhere anymore and just say, "Hey, can we just poke around?" Instant liabilities. Way too many attorneys in the world now, ladies and gentlemen. Not that I have anything against attorneys, but the days of just winging it are long over. There's now there's releases and forms and affidavits and whatever. It's become a soup of legalese. All right, so the next one is coming from Indiana. And no calls, so we're good. I see D calls her OCG too, so I think I'm going to start OCG. I like that better. OCG. All right, my dad had come home from work early one day to get some sleep before going back in at 5, and he was getting ready to lay down when he heard music. But not just any music, but female voices singing. He went into the living room and found that the noise was coming from downstairs, and he assumed we were home early from whatever reason he didn't know. So he was going downstairs to check on us, but when he got to the entryway and was about to proceed down the stairs, the singing was now heard from the upstairs. He kept going back and forth trying to find out if it was upstairs or downstairs, but by now he heard it from every direction, and he decided to just head downstairs to see if we were there. And when he got to my bedroom door and pushed it open, there were 3 little girls on my bed, sitting in a circle, singing together. My dad told me that they were speaking in another language because he could hear their voices loud and clear, but couldn't make out one of the words. When the girls finally noticed him, they made a scared face and disappeared into thin air, like when you turn the channel on your TV, and this whole event went on for at least 5 minutes or so, including when he was trying to find out where the voices were coming from. He said the song seemed kind of fancy for today, and that they were all wearing old-fashioned dresses. And one girl had her hair in 2 pigtails, which reminds me that I've actually experienced my hair being braided in rolls while I was sleeping. And me nor my sister know how to do that, and we now hear voices, but have never seen the girls again. Well, I guess they're not alone, though. There's 3 of them, so. Strangeness. A real quick story, though. Next one's California. Just checking the phones. Nobody's calling. All right. Have you ever had an experience that was so unexplainable that even after 20 years, you still put that memory out to examine it, searching for answers? Well, that's what happened to me, and I'm still grappling with this experience, and it all started when I was 10 years old in the summer of 1982. My family had flown from Pennsylvania to California to visit my aunt and cousins, and I never had any type of paranormal experiences aside from those in this house, which I'm about to relate, so I had no bad vibes or hesitation about staying at this house. The thought of anything paranormal never even crossed my mind. A little background on the room I was staying in. It belonged to my cousin and it had a very large clown painted on the wall. Ooh, Don would love that room. At this point, I wasn't scared of clowns, not amused by them either, just indifferent. And the lights in the room were controlled by a dimmer switch, and you could push the switch to turn it on and then turn it to adjust the brightness of the light. For some unexplained reason, my cousin brother and I spent the night sleeping on the floor. No one was in the bed. Must have been a kid thing. And I woke in the middle of the night and noticed that the light was getting brighter and brighter. And as I lay on the floor, trying to figure out what was going on, the lights started to get dimmer and dimmer. The change wasn't super fast, but definitely fast enough to be noticeable. The dimmer switch was located next to the door, and I expected to see my folks or my aunt standing there checking up on the kids, but the door was firmly shut. I've never been so scared in my life, and too scared to even wake the others up. I just laid there watching the lights get brighter and dimmer to the point that it was almost total darkness, and the scariest part was that I knew that clown was on the wall a few feet away from the dimmer switch, and I could not bring myself to glance away from that switch, certain that the clown would be looking at me. It seemed like the lights were changing for hours, but that was probably the fear that made it seem so long, and I do not think I ever went back to sleep that night. I just stayed there, too scared to move. In thinking back on this over the years, I have never come up with a logical explanation for what it was. It seems that a malfunctioning light might have gone on and off, but not brighter to dimmer. I also question whether I truly woke up, but the experience is so clear, the feelings and the fear after 25 years, that it seems unlikely. And ever since that night, I've been scared to death of clowns. Fast forward 20 plus years, I was taking a business trip out to California and was planning on staying at my aunt's home for a few days before I started my work, and I was exhausted the night I arrived and went to bed early, and honestly, the entire light episode was far from my mind, so I fell asleep instantly. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning wide awake. This always happens when I fly from the east coast to the west, and I've often found that the best way to deal with it is just to get up knowing I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep anyway, and I decided to go into the family room and watch television since that room was far removed from the bedrooms, and no one would be disturbed at that early hour. In order to get to the family room, I have to walk down the hallway, and the bedrooms were located near the den, in through the den. And as soon as I entered the den, I froze. There's no other way to describe it. I just did not want to take a step into that room. To the right side of the den is a couch. Without looking at the couch, it was as if I sensed that there was someone there or something that did not want me in that room. I admitted I ran through that room into the living room, never glancing at the couch. And when I got to the living room, everything felt normal, but I still turned on every light and the TV, and I sat there. I thought back to that first experience and the one that just occurred, and I couldn't explain that overwhelming fear I felt. I had never felt anything like that in my life. I thought maybe subconsciously I was thinking about the earlier experience, and it was affecting me still. After a few hours, my aunt joined me in the living room, and we had never spoken of the paranormal, and I was not sure what her views on it were, but so I wasn't sure if I'd mention it to her or not. Well, I ended up telling her everything, both the experience 20-some years ago, which I'd never mentioned to anyone but my brother, and the morning's adventure, and it was then that she told me that when they first moved into their home, she had a very vivid dream that there were two people sitting on the couch in the den. She said, "You could not make out features. They were more black shapes. But it appeared that both shapes were holding cigarettes in her dream. And she said you could see the red tip of the cigarettes glowing. I still cannot decide if the experience I had at that house were a combination of my imagination and electrical problems, or if something was truly in that home. The second experience I tend to doubt more easily, since it relied on feelings, and I almost wished I had looked at the couch to see if something was there, but I know if I had it to do over again, I would still run. I should note that I had lived in various places, some of which have been over 100 years old, and never had any other experiences at all. Well, I don't know. Sometimes you just get to that one place and it feels like everything's wrong. Everything's wrong. Okay, so the next one's coming from Washington. I have no idea why these things happen to me. I didn't think I did anything for these things to happen, and they didn't scare me as much as I thought something like that would. One day I was just getting out of the shower and in front of the mirror brushing my teeth, and there were these razors attached to the wall opposite of the shower head in the shower. And all of a sudden I see in the mirror one of them gets ripped off and hits the other wall really hard. It was as clear as day, and it was really loud. My grandma came running and thought something happened to me, but I just told her what happened, and she didn't really believe me until we looked in the shower, and there was a razor just sitting on the ledge of the whole thing, the little carrier too, and it was just sitting there on the opposite end where it used to be. It just flew across like something threw it. That's just one thing that happened, though. Once I was downstairs going into my room, and right before I walked through my door, I heard this weird smacking wet noise. It was a mouth noise, like chewing food with your mouth open really loudly. I started to follow it, assuming that there was something over there making that noise, but nothing was there. I followed it, and it kept moving around the room. I just kept following it around and around. It was like running away from me, but I kept following it. After that, I got kind of scared and ran upstairs and told my little sister. She's only 6 years old, though, just so I didn't feel all alone. Another experience was when I was in my living room feeding my turtles, when all of a sudden the beads over my door, the beads that hang down and you walk through them, started spinning like really slowly, not like wind blowing them, but like spiraling, like rotating. It was weird. I got really scared and backed up on my bed and started humming. Humming just made me feel less alone and not just so silent. It seems to make it less scary. And then they all stopped except one, and it started going a little faster and then just stopped. I sat there for like 10 more minutes and then finally worked up enough courage to walk through them to go upstairs. I didn't bother to tell anyone because I knew nobody would believe me. The last thing is, one time I was downstairs washing my hands in the utility sink, and a bolt went right past my head and went bang on the wall in front of me. It frightened me really bad, and when I looked back, nobody was there. My mom was doing her homework on the computer, and my dad was using the bathroom, and my sister was gone at her friend's house. If it was one of them, I would have heard them run up the stairs or something. I went and checked if my dad and mom were still there where they were, and they were. I still didn't tell anyone, though. Then everything just stopped after that. This happened over a period of like 4 days, and I have no idea why some things just happen out of the blue like this. Will you tell me why? Also, why was it so short? It says I'm also 13 and the right age and stuff. Well, sometimes, and this gets brought up with, I've heard it from several paranormal investigators, and they say that sometimes things will follow you home. Now, you don't necessarily need to be paranormal investigating for them to follow you home. They could just be somewhere and you pass by, and for some reason or another, they feel your energy and decide they want to hang out with you or follow you, so they will follow you to where you live. Now, there seems to be something a little different about these kind of hauntings because they really are short-lived. And I don't know if it's because the spirit really can't stay that long and then their energy just dissipates and they go back to where they were, or what the situation is. But many investigators talk about things following them home and just they know they've got to wait a few days and it'll just be gone. I've heard Nick Groff talk about this. I've heard, I think Dan Pruitt discussed it when I was interviewing him one time. And it doesn't seem that they can stay when they come by this measure, but I'm not sure. That's just a theory, but they seem to come, make themselves known for a few days, and then boom, they're just gone. So maybe they have to return to where they came from. I don't know. Very strange, though. Sorry, I got to get a drink. All right. So that's my 2 cents on that one. I don't know for sure what else it could be. Maybe it just got bored. Maybe it followed you home and you're not as interesting as it thought. So it went back. I don't know. But they can be, spirits don't have to, you don't have to be investigating haunted places or cemeteries or something to have this happen. They can just be wherever it is that spirits are. Sometimes they're in malls. Sometimes they're in parking lots. They're just wherever they are. And I suppose they probably bide their time by just checking people out sometimes. I don't know, just an idea, just a theory, but I really do think there's something to that. All right, the next one. Let's see, how long we've been at this. I don't think for very long. Yeah, it's only been 30 minutes. We're cruising through stories tonight. So the next one's from Texas, the great state of Texas. I have an eccentric friend named Lori, and she has told me many stories about her experiences with strange things. Here is one that involved her beloved grandmother. Lori, which by the way is not her real name, did not have a good childhood. Lori's mom was a very cruel woman who on paper sounds like a Disney villain. Cruella de Vil would constantly physically and emotionally abuse my friend and gloried in anything that caused her pain. Yeah, I don't know why people like that have children. If you know you suck at it, just stop being a parent and give your kid to somebody that's going to love them. Oh, there's so many damaged people. Eesh. Lori would tell me that her mother would ask her constantly, why did she have to be such a fat, ugly daughter? Oh, good Lord. My friend being a smarty pants. I try to keep it clean on the show. So from birth would reply, why did I have to be born to a mother who would say such a thing to her fat, ugly daughter? Oh, it just breaks my heart. Lori told her that her mother will never die. Told me that her mother will never die because heaven doesn't want her and the devil would think it was a hostile takeover. The family ties that bound and gag. Lori's mother was prone to send Lori away when the bruises got too prominent and when she would send Lori to her grandmother's house for an extended stay. If you're wondering why the police weren't called, it was because this was in the days when child protective services were not in full force and abuse was viewed as a family problem and not a police problem in a small rural town in Texas. Lori's grandmother was full-blooded Choctaw Indian, and she believed that all things have a spirit that should be respected and loved. Lori really loved her grandmother and very much and looked forward to spending the time with her, snapping peas on the front porch to hear her stories. This same grandmother taught her to play poker, just in case she ever needed money. What a gal. When Lori was barely 11 or 12 years old, her grandmother passed away. And it was the middle of winter in Texas, which means you probably only needed a sweater to stand in the chilly weather. However, Lori was missing her grandmother and looking out a window at her house, and she silently asked her grandmother if she missed her. And Lori looked out into the yard at the roseless rose bushes that were in there in the front yard. And Lori's always told me like this. A yellow rose bloomed in the middle of the rose bush and stayed that way for a minute before falling away petal by petal. It was winter, people. Roses don't grow in winter, and certainly not in front of you. Lori's grandmother sent her a message of hope that she's carried with her for over 30 years. I just thank God that she had that grandmother. When you're raised by someone so damaged and damaging, at least there's a safe place, at least there's something safe. And yeah, it was a different world back then, it really was. The world was different in the old days. It wasn't uncommon for kids to get the belt or the spoon or, whatever. I mean, it was just part of life. And so by our modern sensibilities, it's like, what? But this is a different world back then. I remember some of those things. I didn't get whipped or anything. I had a good childhood and all. I never got brutalized, but I knew kids that did, and it was it was just the way things were handled, and as tragic as that is. But it just breaks my heart that someone could have a child and say such hurtful, terrible, terrible things to them. And I know being a parent is tough. Being a parent is double tough. I mean, sometimes you're just at your wit's end, and Kids will be kids, and sometimes they just catch you on the wrong day, and you feel like you're going to burst. But you always just got to look at them and see that those little hands and those doe eyes, and just go, it's all for you. It's all for you. You got to release that. But I'm so sorry this woman went through so much pain. And so many people do. But again, if there's someone out there listening to me that has children and you don't like being a parent and you're not treating your kids well, and you're not treating your kids well, do them a favor and walk away. Just walk away. Don't brutalize those children. Don't do that to them. And don't worry about what everyone's going to think or say about you. Who cares? It's a bigger act of love to walk away than it is to stay just to make everybody believe you're a good parent. Oh, God. That just breaks my heart. Ugh. Public service message right here on the portal. See, it's not just a paranormal show, ladies and gentlemen. I sometimes sprinkle it with my own biases, but I guess it's my show. I'm allowed to do that. But I think everyone out there would agree with me that, if you're not going to love a child, don't pretend to be a parent. Just walk away. Let someone who will love them take care of them. All right. Let's see what's going on here in Texas. Another one from Texas, ladies and gentlemen. When my father and his new wife moved into the house and they currently reside in, they knew well that the previous owner's mother had died in the back bedroom. It was rumored that the previous owner had been a drug dealer, user, who had been siphoning off of his mother's Social Security check and possibly over-medicated her prior to her death. Wow, we're getting some gems tonight, huh, ladies and gentlemen? There's a reason hauntings start, and usually it's not because people are in happy places. I'm just going to say that. After his mother died, he not only moved out, but he left the country for New Zealand. So if any over in New Zealand, you might be dealing with this guy now. My father was amused by this fact and used to joke ceaselessly about the old dead lady living in the house. If anything went wrong or went missing, it was the old lady in the house. Well, my stepsister did not think this was funny, considering she was a latchkey kid at the time and had to spend several hours home alone in the house by herself before her mom or my dad would return from work. She swears the doorknobs would twist on her bedroom door and the bathroom when she was home alone, and the entire time that she lived there until she grew up and moved out, she would turn on every light in the house once it was dark. During my brothers and my weekends to visit my dad's house, we would often come up with missing articles that would return to their original placement after a great deal of looking. One afternoon, I placed a silver ring that my sister had given me on the center table candy dish in the living room area while I brushed my hair before putting the ring on for the day. And I brushed my hair and then went to place the ring on my finger, but discovered the ring was gone. I searched high and low and enlisted the help of two of my brothers and my father because the ring was important to me, because it was the first gift that my new stepsister had given to me, and I truly loved it. I should mention that my father is a veteran police officer for a large city and knows how to search for and find anything. I'm talking ripping up the sofa cushions, emptying trash cans, looking in the refrigerator. Well, we could not find that ring. I was forced to leave the house at the end of my weekend visit without my trinket, and I was pissed. It says I was pissed. 2 days later, my dad calls me and tells me that my stepmother had found my ring sitting in the candy dish in the middle of the table that I had originally placed the ring before brushing my hair. When my stepmother found the ring in the candy dish and asked my dad if that was the ring that they had been looking for so hard, and my dad exclaimed, "Where'd you find that?" And Dad tried to convince my stepmother that we had searched the candy dish before and that the ring had been nowhere to be seen. My stepmother still thinks that we just overlooked the ring, but that's not possible because we even moved the sofa looking for it, and it just showed up in the middle of the room where 4 people had been searching. I don't think so. I think the old lady had the ring, and when she saw I was upset, she gave it back. Then I'm not going to read the last line. That's the person disparaging that spirit, but I think it's just a spirit trying to be acknowledged. I don't think it's meant to be a malicious thing. It's just, hey, I'm here. Somebody pay attention. This one's from California. It's a long one. This one's a long one from California. From childhood, there has been a part of town that seemed to radiate peace to me. Seems like I could be blindfolded, spun around 3 times, and driven in reverse to this area, and I would still know exactly where I was. That is how peacefully it moves me, and lucky me, after months of apartment hunting, my fiance fell in love with the place, and it happened to be right in that area. And my new home is haunted, but there's a being here full of hunger and anger. Luxuriating in the calm solace of my old home was like a nice soak in the tub. This place is like being, what? It's like being chucked in a shake and bake bag filled with cactus needles. What the hell? Typically, ghosts react like dogs with me. If they're lost and scared, they follow me. They know I'll try to help them. And I'm surprised when I find ghosts that don't want positive transformation, like this one. You're my stomach, sorry. The first thing I felt, the energy disturbance of both the previous owner, her energy signature, and beings and energies that were attached to this place. From experience, I knew that it can take at least 3 months to mediate all of the energies. It is a process that almost always begins by quieting the destructive being's energies. And on the 3rd night, I realized this was not happening. I was locking down for the evening and had just shut off all the lights in the kitchen, dining room, and living room, and there was only one small light on inside that was in the master bedroom on the other side of the house. As my eyes began to focus to the darkness, a shape became defined, blacker than the night and 2 feet in front of me. It was about 3 feet high, with either horns or ears and red eyes. I couldn't tell if it had ever lived, but it had enormous rage and an endless sadness. Initial fear was ratified by my disappointment. All the work that I had done up to that point hadn't made a sea change. I'm not sure what a sea change is, but I think it just means a difference. So I stood my ground and calmed myself by imagining that I would be able to help bring it to positive transformation. It sent me only barbs and then seemed to melt away into the blackness, using the darkness as a fish uses water. Its intensely ugly pallor, and my guessing where it might return, notched up my apprehension. Why would it shun the light? What does it get from merely peering out of the shadows? How could my fiancé and I begin a life together burdened by this extra negativity? Different things work for different people to assuage supernatural negativity. For some, it is crosses on every wall. Some, it is burning herbs and singing trance-like songs. And for others like me, it's mostly about meditation and psychic intervention. Through my meditation, I learned that this negative being is not diabolical, but it is power-hungry. It did not come right out with it, but it made it apparent that it wants a host to suck on. Of course, at that point, I could say all of my good work has not done much, but it had helped some. It remained out of my searchlight, yet hungered to be with me, and noticed I was lying in bed. It was early evening, and was just about to turn off the lights to sleep, and that is when, from across the room and from the corner of my eye, I saw an outline of a face. By trespassing in my space, I was able to pick up a bit more about it, and from there I knew it was masculine and sensed it was a shape changer. It was powerful as well, and it would have to be to resist my energy so well, and it lingered at the threshold simply watching me, loving the power of its anonymity, but my desire to heal it, and it pathetically gloated in its oblivion. Then came New Year's. As usual, I had to work and was hoping my earplugs would sail me through the staple drunken neighbors, gunfire, and fireworks. My fiancé had tuckered out in the other room, and he gets up at 4 a.m, so I wasn't altogether sad that he wasn't laying next to me. As I had feared, the excitement of New Year's got the better of me, and I could hear the snapping fireworks, drunken drawls, and hammering laughter. At 1-ish, petting the cat facing away from the door, I was wondering about the cogs and wheels of time and considered what might be my future. I said, "Come in," hearing a knock on the open bedroom door. My adoration flashed. I was so glad that my fiancé decided to come and be with me for a while before he had to get up. I waited to hear my fiancé's soft and low voice, but instead heard nothing. From the corner of my eye, I saw the hall light and decided he was making a visit to the bathroom and he would soon be coming in. I went back to the cat, and then several minutes later I returned my glance to the door, and I realized the light was strange looking, whitish blue, and my boyfriend had never come in. Just as rolled over to the face of the door, the light evaporated. Scared out of my mind, but having just enough of it left, I got up and shut my door, locking it. Next day I asked my fiancé, but I already knew he had not been up in the night and had not knocked on my door, and ironically, I withdrew from the light as the being withdraws from mine. As time goes on, I am annoyed by its stalwart caginess and saddened by its sadness. I don't know. Very strange. I don't know. Not sure what that means. It's an interesting story, and this person sounds a lot like Sean and Diane and Deb when they're dealing with the different spirit stuff. So clearly this person's a psychic. But time will tell. Let's see where we're at. I think 47. So if I can find a short one, we will be okay. Long. This one might be okay. This is Florida. It says, our family's had many experiences, and we even have a family ghost story, and someday I'll write about it, but tonight I'm going to write about happenings in my home. Shortly after Hurricane Charlie hit our home, we began renovations to the house. My partner, S., stated that on a few occasions he saw a little man, not much taller than the back of our dining room chairs, wearing a derby hat, walking through the sliding glass door, it was closed, past the table and go into the wall between the fridge and the new kitchen cabinets. Since I had the house built in 1993 and was the only person who lived here, I decided that it was an imprint left over from some time in the past. Until one day when S was bringing the mail into the bedroom and he caught this little man standing by the head of our bed. The little man saw him, acted startled, and ran behind the bed into the wall. This room was also being worked on, and the bed was pulled away from the wall, so that is why the little man could run around the bed and go into the wall. Haven't seen him since then. S hadn't told me the story until one day when I approached him and told him I thought we had a ghost in the house because I kept seeing a shadow of a tall, thin man wearing a fedora hat peering around the corner at me. He has seen him too, and he said he was trying to think of a way to tell me and was glad that I brought it up. This dark figure has been spotted by many people, and we call him the Traveler. My sister sees one in her home. A friend of my adult daughter has seen one. A patient at the hospital where I work saw one yesterday, and I've noticed many others that have described him on various ghost sites. And I would like to hear other stories about him. My dog tends to look like he's looking at someone, and several times he pushes his toy toward where he's looking as if he wants to play. And he also looks towards the kitchen a lot and barks. Other smaller instances are, one, a dog gate not only fell over in the night, it flipped over and faced a new direction, and then it would have it just fell on its side. I don't know, that wasn't a well-written sentence, but number two, I woke in the middle of the night and saw what looked like glowing wings on the wall. I placed the TV remote control on top of my bed pillow. This is number three. Placed my TV remote control on top of my bed pillow, left the room to talk to S, and when I came back into the room, it was missing. I found it inside the pillowcase. Number four, I came home from work one night, and when I went into the kitchen, I noticed that tip was missing from the faucet and asked S how the faucet got broken, and he said it wasn't. I went back to check it out, and I touched the sharp edge and even convinced myself that there wasn't a tip on this faucet and went to bed. The next morning, the tip was back on the faucet. Or number 5. It's not S, it's number 5. I was resting in the hot tub one night where I tend to fall asleep in it. In my sleep dream, a voice says, "Are you the person in the hot tub?" And I answered yes. It then said, "Prepare yourself for cold water." I woke up with a start and laughed and thought, what a strange dream. And all of a sudden, the recycle jets on the spa turned on, and out rushed cold water that blasted my sides. I was glad I was awake when the cold water hit. Number 6, last night at 2 different times, there was a bell of some sort ringing loudly. The first one woke me up, and S was coming back to bed, and he was in the bathroom. And the second time he was in the bed, and it woke us up, and the dog started to bark. That morning we tried to duplicate the sound, trying our smoke detector, microwave, alarm clock, timers, and the phone, but nothing made a similar sound. So what do you think is going on in my house? I just want you to know that I am in my 50s and S is in his 60s and we don't do drugs. Rarely drink and have no reason to brag about ghosts in our home. I've been on many ghost hunts with a professional team, and I was the one who tried to disprove events and had to be convinced that what was happening really was happening. Well, I don't know. Sounds like you got yourself some kind of gnome. House gnome, maybe. Little people, I don't know. If you guys believe in that or not, there are legends of these little diminutive people out there. Apparently, there are some that like to live around people, and it's supposed to be a really good thing if they do. It's supposed to be like a really rare and blessed thing to have them choose you, because they only choose good places, and they love animals and love children. Doesn't sound like these people had children, but they have animals, so maybe so. But I don't know. Just some thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Just a few thoughts. But I guess that's 53 minutes of showtime. That'll do it for tonight, I think, ladies and gentlemen, unless I got a really short one here. Let me check. That one's really long. And this one's really long. So nope, I don't got a really short one. Sorry. But I hope you enjoyed that all the same. Let me close this one so I don't try to reread it tomorrow night. I hope you guys are doing wonderful, and thank you so much for being here and being a part of the shows. It's always a real pleasure to come on and do the shows and see the chat rooms fill up and all these familiar faces and names come up. Once again, happy birthday, OCG. I hope you have a great whatever's left of it. And don't go, well, I can look for a short one, I guess. It's hard to leave. It's always hard to shut this off every time. Let me just look and see if I can find something really short. Maybe I can find one more. Let's see. Nope, that's really long. I'm just, by the roll of the dice here, just opening up random stories, trying to find one that's real short. Here's a real short one. Okay, Oklahoma. For you guys, because I love you. From Oklahoma. This happened about 2 years ago. I was about 13. I just finished a book about this psychic who had a ghost come to her for help on passing on. The book was based on a true story, and well, since the book dealt with contacting the other side, I wanted to see if it worked. I was bored, so after I finished the book, I started concentrating really hard to communicate with the other side. I was focusing on the name Aaron, which was the ghost name in the book, though it had been changed to protect the people involved. And I was focusing, and I felt a slap on my wrist. I got freaked, and it broke my concentration, so I immediately stopped and turned on the TV. The next day I told my mom, and she said that it was probably giving me a warning that I wasn't supposed to be opening a unknown portal, and whatever slapped me was warning me about that. So she also said that it could have been my guardian angel. I really don't think it was a ghost because our house is blessed, so it stops evil spirits or just spirits from entering, or so we believe. Another incident that has happened 2 times in the past are knockings on my window. It's a 1-story house, but it still freaks me out. obviously, and we have a dog, and when those incidents happen, he didn't bark, and it usually barks when somebody he doesn't know is near. And it didn't, so I'm not sure what it was. Any ideas? I think you should be careful about making contact. I think you should find people that do and learn from them. Not just read a book and decide, hey, I'm going to talk to spirits now. Because, again, it's just like a Ouija board or anything else. When you're going to contact and communicate, you want to make sure you've cleansed yourself, you've cleansed your environment. You want to, make sure that you're focusing on positive interactions with light beings, not shadow or dark things, and be very careful because you don't want to become a blind channel. And you should never open a portal that you cannot close. But I think that's it now. I hope you guys like that one last one. I think it's a cute little story. But that's going to wrap it up for me. Again, thank you everybody for being here and being a part of the shows. Tomorrow. What is today? Monday, right? Yeah, today's Monday. So tomorrow I'll be back doing the bedtime stories. And then Wednesday, I will be back with Dawn, and we'll get into our 2-hour Wednesday show. So I hope you guys can join us then. Wednesday's podcast will be released as well. So watch for that wherever podcasts are. And check out our store on Teespring. If you want to help support the portal and what we're doing, check it out. Maybe you'll find something. We've got a good selection, a variety of selections. Hopefully they're reasonable, or hopefully you'll find something interesting. But it sure goes a long way to help support what we're doing, and we really appreciate it. So I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. So I'll be back tomorrow night, everybody. Love you guys. Take care and sweet dreams.